Hello everyone, it's Anna here, your macrame artist and teacher, and today I will be making something that's actually only half a decoration and half it's something very practical, and that is a macrame yoga mat strap. As usual, let me start the video by running through the list of supplies that I'm going to be using. For the cords, there are 4 different colors, but they're all the same type and size. And that is a 5mm braided cords in, yes, I already said the size, right? You have to forgive me, I haven't done this in a long time. So yes, 5mm braided cords. As you can see, one of the colors is black. And then the other 3 are colors that you've already seen me use in that chandelier. So it's this like baby pink, baby blue, baby green, I guess you can call them. And I chose these colors because I thought that they will go really well with my yoga mat. This is what my mat looks like. So it's got all kinds of shades of pink and purple and blue and green. And for all the cord measurements, the total length of the cords that I'm using and also how long I'm cutting all of them, just head to the video description. That's where I always put all of those numbers. And then the last supply that I'm going to need is something that the strap is going to hold on. So I think I'll go with these guys. So 2 of these like half rings, a little bit more than half rings. You can see I'm actually holding like proper rings as well because I couldn't decide if I want to go with the silver or this more like what is it, brass, I think, right, is what you would call this color. So I've decided to go with these. I think it's also going to be nice having these straight edges here, which is where the macrame cords are going to attach, but they're not necessary. You can definitely use like full circles like these as well. You can of course do wooden ones as well, or just, you know, whatever color, style, material fits with your color of cords. And that, I believe, should be it for all of the supplies. If I forgot about anything, I will put it in here. Otherwise, I will go ahead and cut my cords and then I'll show you how I'm getting started. And here we are about a week later. I just needed some more extra time to think about the pattern, think about the lengths, and just prepare for this project. Since it is supposed to be a practical thing, there were some things that I had to consider. So one, I decided to change the base color. So I was telling you just a minute ago that I'm going to be using the black for, you know, most of the design, but actually I don't think I have enough of that black cord because the strap is going to be pretty long. I think about 2 meters in the like final length, so already once all of the knots are on. So instead I will be using the natural color for that base. And then for the pattern, what I actually did is I did a little test run with just some scrap short cords. This is something that I always do when I have some concerns or some doubts whether a pattern that I have in my mind is actually going to work. So here, you know, it was pretty easy to just put it onto the circle and then, or on the, yeah, you know what I mean, this top thing. And then I just tested what I had in mind. And it does work, I think. So what I wanted to achieve is like a wider width, I guess, a bigger width. Just because I thought that if it's going to be maybe only like this wide, it's not going to be as comfortable to like wear it over your shoulder because this just might be my mat, but it is actually quite heavy. Like it's a pretty like sturdy material. It's not the typical like foamy mat that you get, so it is pretty heavy. So if this is going to be like hold it, like pulling down on my shoulder. I wanted something that's going to be a little bit wider to just spread that pressure. So I think this is going to achieve that. And so basically the idea is that what's the dark purple now is going to be the natural, and then these sections are going to be made up of the 3 other colors that I have. So I think at this point I'm actually ready to start. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. So the first thing I did here is that I attached this semi-circle ring with some duct tape to my clothing rack. This doesn't look pretty, but it is going to get the job done because this ring is not going to be moving as we are putting the cords on it. So as for putting on the cords, I am simply going to pull all of them through the ring, hopefully not getting them stuck to the duct tape. So like this, all 6 at once or just one by one. I'm going to leave maybe 30 centimeters down here, something like that. And then I'm taking another much shorter piece of cord, and I am going to do the gathering knot on all of these. So I will add it to the back of the work, hold it there, make a little loop down here, hold that together with the top of the cord, and then start circling around all of these and looping the cord like this. And I am going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops. That looks good, I think. Trying to make sure that they are the same width as well. And at this point, I'm going to loop the rest of the cord through this loop that we have prepared here. And then at the top, I am going to pull on the shorter end of that cord that we had up there until when we look at the back, this has completely disappeared underneath all those circles, all those rings. And so now we have all of these cords attached. So in the test pattern, what I did after making that gathering knot at the top, I went right into these double half hitch knots. But actually, I've made up my mind about that. I'm instead in here going to do some braiding first. So you'll kind of have to ignore these short ends that are in here, and underneath it, take the 6 cords that are the actual long cords, each, and they're going to form groups of 2. And then I'm going to make a super simple French braid with them. And this part, this braided part, is what is going to go around my mat, like when it's, rolled up and this is actually holding her. This is going to go around it. And so here I actually think that the fact that it's not as wide is going to be better because it's going to easier go through these rings. That's what I found out when I was doing the test pattern, that it was maybe a little bit too thick right here. So whenever I'm doing a braid like this, I always have one of these clips handy so that when I think I'm done with the braid, I will just put it in to secure it in place until I can continue with whatever the pattern is. So at this point, from the top here to the end of the braid, it is 45 centimeters for me, and I think that will be enough. But for you, just make sure that you measure your mat. I've literally took my mat and I've tried whether this can go around it. So do the same thing, and if needed, just make the braid a little bit longer. It shouldn't take too much of your cord because the braid, it doesn't have, it doesn't make the cords so much shorter. So you should be fine even if your mat is a little bit thicker. Okay, and at this point down here, I can start with that pattern that I was testing before. To start our pattern here, let's take off the clasp. And then I'm holding another shorter piece of the natural cord, and I'll make another gathering knot here. A little bit smaller than the one we did at the top. So again, just making a loop down there, and then making maybe only like 4 turns or so, like that. Trying to keep these kind of flat on there. So now that this part is secured, I can start the pattern of those double half hitches. So out of the 6 cords, these 2 in the middle are going to become my travel cords, and then I'm going to put 2 double half hitches on each from the 2 cords on the side. And now because these cords are so long, I'm definitely going to use the fast method for doing the double half hitch. If you don't know how to do this, then up there is a link to a video where I explain this. So I make the loops for the 2 double half hitch knots, then pull the cord through, and then maybe a bit more carefully tighten them. It's at first the pattern might look all weird and maybe a little bit crooked, but I think that will improve as I will keep adding to it. And so now the same thing on the other side. Okay, so we've got that first row. Now for the second row, I'm going to take this cord on the top left side. That's going to become my travel cord here. Put 3 double half hitches on it. And then from this one, that will become my travel cord on the left side, and it will have just 2 of those double half hitches. For the third and last row, I'm going to switch it up. So the top right cord goes over here first with the 3 double half hitch knots, and then this one is going to go over to the right with the 2 double half hitch knots there. Okay, now at this point, it is time to add in the colored cords. So I'm taking the pink first, but it doesn't really matter. And I'm taking the 2 cords in the middle, and I'm going to wrap the pink around them. By the way, this is the middle of this pink cord. So I'm going to wrap it around them and then do a square knot. So from the left, then cross over in the back, tighten it. At this point, I can move it further up, but I don't want to squeeze it all the way in there. And then the other side of the square knot. Just like this. And then I'm going to do 5 more of those. So we've got 6 square knots, and this pattern where you have one underneath each other is called the Solomon bar. Now I'm not going to worry about these ends for now. I'll just trim them a little bit to maybe this much and then just leave them hanging there. And I'll do the exact same thing I did here for both of these 2 cords on the sides with new pieces of that pink cord. The only difference is that instead of doing 6 of those square knots, I'm only going to do 4. Once we have all 3 of the Solomon bars, we are going to close the pattern with a reverse section of these double half hitch knots. So instead of going from the middle out, we're going to go from the outwards in. So these 2 cords on the sides will become our travel cords, and then these 2 at first, each one on each side, are going to do the double half hitch knots. And again, that first row is going to be a little bit trickier because, as you can see, the cords are quite far apart. So we will have to kind of get them closer together a little bit. Also, this first double half hitch knot, make sure that you're not kind of squeezing it all the way to the top. Kind of like you see here, we also have that gap a little bit up there. We want to do that down here as well. And same in the middle, not squeezing it all the way, leaving a little bit of cord in there. And down at the bottom here, we are going to select one of those travel cords, and then the other one is going to do the double half hitch. And to mirror the top here, I'm going to make that this is the travel cord and this one is the last double half hitch on there. We will continue on this side, this travel cord, and 2 double half hitch knots. Then we continue on this side, travel cord, and 3 double half hitch knots. 2 more here, and then the last 3 over here. So I think you can definitely tell that this side is a lot more wonky and wobbly than this side. Like, this is a nice clean arrow, I would say, whereas this one is a little bit weird, but that's okay. At this point, what I'm going to do is restart that pattern essentially. So these 2 cords become my travel cords, and we start with this arrow kind of facing up again. Then I'm going to put in the salmon bar, but this time using a different color, but otherwise the same thing, and then end it with this again. And I'll just repeat this over and over until my strap will be long enough. And here we are with all of the colors. I did a pink at the top, a blue, a green, pink again, and 1 more blue. So 5 of the colored sections in total, and you can see at the end I finished with that last arrow shape. I've measured, and from the bottom of this gathering knot to the bottom of this, it's about 80 centimeters. I also just tested this kind of like with the green stuff in the middle, kind of over my shoulder, to see, does it look like it's more or less where, I would want to wear the yoga mat, and it seems like it should work. So, and you also can see at the top what I ended up doing is just, I wrapped the braid over a couple times, and that worked just fine as I was working on this. I think as long as you don't pull really strongly on any of the cords, that should be fine. No hook or anything like that needed. And so down at this point, what's coming next again is a repeat of this. So a little gathering knot, just like this one, and then the braid, and then I will come back to show you how I'm then going to finalize it with the other ring in there. So here is my prep for adding that second ring. We've got the first one right here, and then I again just used the duct tape to attach the second one to my clothing rack. Here I've got the braid all done, same length as this one, and I've got 1 extra cord ready for this big gathering knot at the top. I also just trimmed my cords to more or less the final length, but not stressing too much about it, just so that I don't have to deal with long extra cords. So I can remove the clip. The next part is I'm going to take all the 6 cords and pull them through the ring, and then sort of trying to neatly sort them onto there, like that. I'm again just double checking that this braid is the same length as this braid. If needed, I can just pull on it a little bit. And now I'll take my extra piece of cord, put that right here, make the loop, hold that tight, and start looping this around all of the cords, just like any other gathering knot, just like we have done at the top here. Okay, and on the 5th turn, this already goes inside that loop, and then I'm going to pull on that from up here until it gets pulled inside. I've taken the thing off of the clothing rack. I pulled the braid through the ring loop, so now I have the loop to actually put my mat through on both sides, and that leaves only one last step to do, and that is to use the hot glue gun to just clean up all of these extra cords from the gathering knots and the colored ones as well. So what I am going to do is cut them really short, probably like this much will be enough. And then like this, just flip them around and glue them to the back of all the Solomon bars. And then with the gathering knots, it just might be enough to like cut them really close to where the end is, and that will be it. And all the cords are cleaned up. You can see from the front that it looks very clean, and from the back you see the tops here that are rather like the bottom of the pattern, where the cords were cut and glued. What I also did is I added little bits of glue here and here on each of the sides so that these are not getting too separated from each other. And so that means I am done. Now, you might remember in the beginning, I was talking about how much time I've given myself to think through the pattern and everything because I needed this to have some kind of functionality as well. Well, it turns out I've definitely underestimated just how heavy my mat is. Because, and you will see that in these shots, when I put it in, the braided cord stretches a lot under the weight of that mat. I think if I had like the regular foamy one that's pretty light, it would work a lot better. I'll also test that with one other mat that I have here, which is closer to it. It's not like the exact, foamy kind that I have in mind, but close to it. So I'll show you how that looks like as well. So I think what I should have done, instead of using the braided cords for the base, I should have used either single twist or better yet 3-ply cords, which are kind of like the sturdiest ones. Like those really do not stretch at all. And I think with those, it would have worked better. But otherwise, in terms of the pattern, this is definitely really comfy and I just really like the whole look. So I don't know if I am actually going to be using this because how stretchy it is with my mat. But I think it is a really cute and nice design that I hope a lot of you can use for your yoga mat straps. And so that is it from me today. I will see you in the next video with my Christmas wreath. Bye everyone.